Today I want to take you through an arrangement of Fool's Rush In, which is a perfect song to arrange for solo guitar. That is, we're going to play the melody and the chords all at the same time. If you like the video, please feel free to hit that like button. And if you've not yet subscribed, please consider subscribing and ring on that notifications bell if it's your first time. So the first thing we're going to look at is just the melody on its own. We're going to play the melody of the A section. There are two sections to the piece. There's the verse and the chorus. And I'm going to play the verse first. It's all here in first position. And you'll notice that I'm going to use the baby finger, finger 4, for anything that happens on the 3rd fret. That becomes quite important when we're arranging things because we tend to use finger 3 for the 3rd fret of the lower strings and the pinky, baby finger, for the 3rd fret of the higher strings. This is something you'll notice across all guitar playing, not just this piece and not just arrangements. So let's run through that melody. I'll just go through it slowly and talk you through the frets. Starting on fret 1, string 2, then up to the 1st string, fret 3, and back. Then fret 3, open string, fret 1 for 2 counts, open string for 2 counts, fret 3, 2, 3. Open G, 2nd fret on the G, open B, 1st fret on the B, 3rd fret on the B, open E, fret 1 on the E, and then an open E, and 3rd fret on the B, 1st fret on the B. Now let's have a quick look at the chorus. The chorus is quite different. It goes a little bit higher. We're going to start on the open B string. We're going to go open B, open E, and then I like to play the G note with finger 3 on the 2nd string. So that would normally be the 3rd fret of the 1st string. We're going to play it on the 8th fret of the 2nd string. Then we're going to play the 7th fret of the first string and back to the 5th fret. And this phrase comes 3 times. And the rhythm he plays around with the rhythm, and you're going to want to play around with the rhythm. Otherwise it can sound a little bit boring. So we want it to sound something like... So 3 times it comes, then we come back into the 1st position. And that's the chorus. So the next thing would be to add chords, to have a look at the chords. And the reason this makes such a good arrangement is that the melody notes often sit naturally as the top note of the chord or the 2nd from the top note of the chord. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to play through it with my thumb, kind of jazz style. And I'm going to show you how the chords contain the melody notes quite naturally, quite simply. So if I'm starting on a C chord, and I've got my melody note. It's the 2nd, what would be the 2nd highest note of that C chord. So instead of strumming all the way through the C chord, I'm going to stop on the 2nd string, and I've got my 1st melody note, wise. Then I've got an E minor chord, and I'm going to add the high G, which is part of the E minor chord, man. And then I'm going to come back to that C note, and I'm going to put an A minor chord underneath it. So you've got C, E minor, A minor, F, C, and then a G chord, and this time we're only going to go to the 2nd string. Then an F chord, G chord, A minor, D minor, and an E on top of the C chord, G chord, and back to C. Let's run through that again. I'm just going to play the chords of the song, and I'm going to put the melody on top of the chords. So that means that sometimes I add an extra finger, like in this case of this E minor chord. It means sometimes I add 1 or 2 notes in between the chords, and it also means that sometimes I don't strum the chord to the very last string. We start with C, E minor, A minor, F, C, G, F, G, A minor, D minor, C, G, and C. Then if we go into the chorus, E minor, and now we're going to play a kind of a B7. Then again E minor, A major, and D minor 7, and then a G chord or a G7 chord. You take us back to the verse. It's quite nice if you want to sing along. What you can do is you can play that version, you can strum the chords and put the melody notes at the top, so you have your note that you need to sing kind of ready for you at the top of the chord. It would sound like this. Wise men say only fools rush in, but I can't help falling in love with you as the river flows slowly to the sea. Darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. Take my... something like that. So the next step, if we want to make this into an arrangement, we're not going to sing, we want to make it a little bit more interesting, is we could add the bass notes. Instead of playing the whole chord, we just play the melody and the bass. And already you can hear what a great song it is, because you can hear how the melody and the bass have this amazing relationship with one another. Normally, the melody and the bass, the change of chords, come actually exactly at the same time, which is another reason why it's such an easy song to arrange. Although you will notice a few times we've got some melody notes in between the chord changes, in between the bass notes, and sometimes we have a bass note on its own in between the melody. So let's just run through that. Now here we'll have an extra A bass note. Here we've got a little extra melody. And if I go straight into the chorus, and then back into the verse. Now I don't know if you can hear already how much richness that adds to the music. You know, just this, the opening melody compared to, is a huge change, because what happens when you have two notes is they immediately form a chord, and it's like we're creating a picture which has color rather than just a black and white sketch. So those chords immediately have colors. Some are major, minor. We have this tonality. This life goes into the music. And just the bass and the melody is enough to give an idea of that. So that's a great version you can learn, especially if you're new to this style of playing. You want to just get used to playing with your thumb and your fingers at the same time. Now the next step would be to add a little something in the middle. So that's all we really need for a successful arrangement. In between that melody line on the top and the bass line at the bottom, we can add a little bit of color, a little bit more color, by adding in some of the notes of the chord. So what we'll do, just to keep it simple, is we'll arpeggiate, that is, we'll play the chord one note at a time, in between the melody and the bass note. So instead of simply going like this, what I'll do is I'll play these middle notes of C major, middle notes of E minor, and middle notes of A minor. And that kind of fills this out a little bit. What I'm doing there is I'm sticking to the third and the fourth string of the guitar as much as possible. Sometimes I'm going to have to play on the fourth and the fifth string. For example, when we hit this F chord and we've got the melody note of A, second fret on the G, to make a nice accompaniment, I don't want to play that A in the accompaniment because then we're not going to hear the melody clearly. So what I do there is I go between the fourth and the fifth string for my accompaniment. But then I'm back to the third and the fourth string, third and the fourth string. Here it would be a little bit complicated to do that arpeggiated accompaniment because the melody line is quite filled out. So I just play these three notes and then focus on playing the melody. And I'm back to the C chord. Again, I focus on the middle of the chord for the accompaniment, G chord, middle of the chord for the accompaniment, and then finish on a C chord, middle of the chord for the accompaniment. And then in the chorus has more melody notes and slightly more complex chords, so we're not going to fill out the chords in the same way. We're going to start with an E minor chord. There's no need to hold down these fingers if we're not strumming the chord, because we're just going to be playing the sixth, the third, and the second string. Then the open E, 8th fret, 7th fret, and then we come back to B, the B7 chord, just a half bar on the 4th fret. So that phrase comes 3 times. It's nice it's the more dramatic part of the song and leading to the climax, which takes us back to the beginning of the verse. And like I say, you want to kind of, even if you're not singing out loud, you want to kind of hear the melody in your mind quite clearly because it's quite free rhythmically, you know, as like a river flows surely to the sea, darling, so it goes. Some things are meant to be. And they're very beautiful harmonies, E minor and B7, 3 times. Darling, so it goes. And then we hit the E minor again. Some things, but this time we're singing much higher note than before, the high third. Some things, and then while that note's being held, changes to A major, which is a beautiful change. So you're holding the 7th. Some things, you're holding that G natural, which is the 7th of A major, are meant to be, and resolves down to the D minor 7 chord, and then to the G, which takes us back into the repeat of the verse. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you got something useful out of that. If you found the right-hand side, the finger-picking side, a little bit difficult, we've done 2 lessons on classical pieces, the Catalayud Valse and the Allegro by Mario Giuliani. We'll put up some cards. You can just click and go to those. And those are great studies. I would do the Valse first and then the Giuliani Allegro. They're great studies for the right hand. And the pattern is much more regular, and regular patterns make things much easier to learn. One of the challenges with learning these arrangements is because they're songs and they're free and artistic, there's not so much regular patterns. We have to learn a lot of new things and piece them together. So that's just a suggestion if you had any difficulties today. If today was too easy, you could check out our video on How Deep Is Your Love, which is quite a tricky arrangement and actually quite a simple arrangement of melody and bass, but quite a tricky one to play. Much more complicated rhythms and all over the fingerboard. If you've not yet subscribed, please do consider subscribing. If you like the video, feel free to hit that like button. And if you want tabs for anything we've done, they're all available on our Patreon page. That's www.patreon.com/altguitar. Now, most excitingly of all, if you're in London, particularly Southwest London, or in Sussex, we run live guitar groups where we work with about 10-15 guitarists at once, and we focus on different aspects of technique and playing, and we kind of get in a groove, and we really just play together and learn together, and it is loads of fun. We'd love to welcome you to one of those. If you're in the area, you can register at www.altguitarschool.com. We've got a form there just to check what level you're at, and then we'll place you in the group that's right for you. So please do come along if that's something that appeals to you. And we look forward to seeing you soon, in person or in our next video. Thanks again for being here, guys. We'll see you later. Ciao.